Thank you, Marco, for putting this amazing event together. Biodiversity conservation is absolutely vital in our fight against climate change. Now, Indigenous communities overlap with about 80% of key biodiversity areas, and these are the very areas where there's enormous gaps in our knowledge of biodiversity. Expert Indigenous trackers can make a huge contribution to monitoring biodiversity. However, some of the best trackers cannot read or write. CyberTracker developed an icon user interface that enables non-literate trackers to gather complex biodiversity data. Another problem we face is that conservation field workers, the type of people who go out into the wilds to work with Indigenous communities, often do not have technical skills. To overcome this problem, CyberTracker allows non-technical people not only to customize the CyberTracker application for specific biodiversity needs, but to view the data in tables and maps without technical or programming skills. Another feature of CyberTracker is that it takes a GPS point every 30 seconds. Now, this allows us to calculate the distance covered, the time spent gathering data, and the number of data points captured. So we can measure the effort of trackers working in the field. Another challenge we face is that it is often difficult to keep track of funding in remote wilderness areas. To overcome this, CyberTracker Online will integrate a very simple accounting system which will keep track of every payment made, allowing independent auditing from anywhere in the world. Perhaps one of our biggest challenges, however, is that in developing countries, priorities are unemployment, water, electricity, and sanitation in large growing cities, which essentially leaves Indigenous communities economically marginalized. The only potential source of income for Indigenous communities are from developed countries and large private companies. This brings us to a potential new business model for Indigenous communities. CyberTracker Online will provide the tools to finance Indigenous communities remotely from developed countries. Indigenous communities can therefore be paid for the biodiversity data they collect. Indigenous communities can also form partnerships with local NGOs who specialize in different species. For example, in our Kalahari project, there's one NGO who specializes in the endangered African wild dog. Yet another NGO specializes in the pangolin, one of the most poached animals in the world. And yet another specializes in monitoring large predators. By having one application that communities can use to gather the data that all of these organizations need, we can make our data gathering efforts much more efficient. CyberTracker also have a number of technology partners. This extends the range of software solutions that we can offer. For example, for our Kalahari project, we will be using the Esri ArcGIS Online as the back-end platform, enabling more sophisticated data analysis, data visualization, and story maps to liven up the data and to really provide an exciting showcase of what can be done. In addition, we have developed the mobile applications for the smart conservation tools as well as Earth Ranger, which specialize in anti-poaching and protected area management. And through these partnerships, we've reached out to more than 1,000 protected areas worldwide, not only in Africa, but also in South America and Asia. We've also partnered with Cobra Toolbox to develop a handheld application for the Trillion Trees project that will be released early next year. Our strategy moving forward to grow our new CyberTracker Online platform is to focus on our Kalahari Flagship project to really show the diversity and the richness of what can be done in the field. And once we've refined the software, we will develop a customizable solution that will make it possible to develop about a dozen key pilot projects in different ecosystems in different parts of the world. Because the CyberTracker software is free and open source, this will allow Indigenous communities worldwide to follow these examples and to replicate our success on a much broader scale.
It is very important because in our tradition, we are hunters and gatherers. So, and if we leave our culture, then it will fall down.
Purely from a cultural heritage point of view, I think it's essential that we develop a program that will keep these skills alive. Combining those skills with a CyberTracker enables us to capture data that cannot be captured in any other way.
So as we found a track or a spore, then we have to make a discussion on the track, which animal is that one, and then as we get that as a group, then we put it in the data, and then on the data it will mark exactly the place where we have seen observing the track.
With climate change endangering literally almost 1 million plant and animal species, there are enormous gaps in our knowledge of biodiversity worldwide, and in particular in developing countries. These are the very areas where indigenous communities can make an enormous contribution to monitoring biodiversity. To solve these problems, we need more people on the ground to be able to physically do what needs to be done to manage biodiversity and to bring biodiversity back. Thank you to the NOAH team for putting this incredible event together.
Thank you, Luis. Now imagine we convert the whole indigenous forest people, 320 million, covering 85% of biodiversity, to our ears and eyes. And suddenly, climate change becomes manageable, trackable, traceable, measurable. That's the wonderful solutions we found to prepare this conference. But Luis needs funding, and not a lot, $3 million to move 500,000 users' data into the cloud. And we have a biodiversity business overnight. We invite you to come into the company with us and invest together with us to make this company a giant.